want you all to think about your parents and how they have helped shape you into who you became, and how your life might have turned out differently if you had different parents or even one fewer parent. This is the central question of my research. How do our parents shape our brain development? And though I'm interested in how this happens in humans, I use an animal model to study this more molecularly in the brain. I use these critters called prairie voles, which are really interesting because unlike other neuroscience models like mouse or rat, these guys are biparental, meaning both mom and dad help take care of the pups just like human parents do. And what normal parenting looks like for a prairie vole might be a little bit different than humans, but they do the same sorts of nurturing behaviors, so they'll provide a shelter and make sure that these animals are safe and clean. And in fact, dads are so involved in the species that they do everything that moms do, except for nurse the pups. And so my question is, what is the relative role of moms and dads in shaping our behaviors? And specifically, how might this actually differ between boys and girls, or sons and daughters? So the first thing I looked at was what's happening in the cells of the brain. So what I did here was took animals that were raised by some by high care parents, some by low care parents, and looked at gene expression, or what is happening within the cells in the brain to actually shape behavior. And I found that specifically sons raised by higher care parents actually have increased expression of genes that are related to the way the brain develops. And the next thing I did was look at the structure of the brain, or actually the connections between the neurons, the cells in the brains, and these connections that allow them to communicate. And what I found is that sons are specifically sensitive to care by fathers. So sons raised by high care fathers actually have more of these brain connections in a region of the brain that's really critical for the way they process rewards. And again, there was actually no change in the daughters. And lastly, I looked at social behaviors. What I found, again, was a sex-specific effect, that sons raised by high care fathers, when they're older, they actually display more parental behavior towards infants. But the opposite is actually true of females, that females raised by higher care fathers later in life display less parental behavior. And so what I found is that there's a really specific effect of fathers in raising sons, that the development of the brain in boys is just really, really sensitive to their father providing these kinds of nurturing cares. And my hope is that by understanding how typical development is different in boys and girls, we might understand why boys are more susceptible to neurodevelopmental disorders like ADHD and autism, and why girls are more resilient to these kinds of disorders, but actually more at risk for other kinds of disorders later in life, like depression and anxiety. Thank you.